Coming up on this edition of Rev Culture, it's a special IMSA focus from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Thanks for joining me on this edition of Rev Culture. I'm Todd Lewis. It's a special IMSA edition from CTMP. Once a year, IMSA comes north to Canada and the crowds come out. We have some very interesting interviews lined up for you, including Connor Zilic, who is ripping it up in everything, including MX5 Cup, Jagger Jones, who is having a very successful run in the VP Racing Fuel Series, and of course, an annual visit from Robert Wickens. But first up, the president of IMSA, John Doonan. John, in just a couple of months, you'll get your 5-year pin as the president of IMSA. How have you been enjoying the journey since 2019? Is it still the dream job of a kid who grew up going to sports car races?
Well, first, Todd, thank you for having me. And you hit the nail on the head. It is a dream opportunity. I watch the races a little differently, as you can imagine, not having a specific horse in the race, as I like to say, but the moment that we're at for our sport in general, motorsport, but specifically for endurance sports car racing is something for the history books. Incredible time with the cars and the brands and the manufacturers and the corporate partners that are involved with us. The fan attendance at the races has been monumental for the year. But yes, it's been a great 5 years. Want to keep it going. Don't want this moment to end. And I've had the chance to work with what I believe is the best staff in sports car racing, if not motorsport, here in Daytona Beach.
Prior to joining IMSA, you spent a lot of years at Mazda. So I think that gave you a good sense of what all of the different stakeholders needed from the series.
Yeah. No, you're right. And when I got the opportunity to come here, I wanted to bring, I would say, 3 things. One, manufacturer experience. So be able to inject maybe the manufacturer's perspective on the sanctioning body and my colleagues here. Just the idea of how things happen in the boardroom. Questions that are asked about investment and value back. You know, from the R&D side, the opportunity to make sure that the regulations are constantly giving a manufacturer the chance to show a new car, a platform, show a new engine technology, show something like hybrid. So, you know, that type of experience, I hope I've brought that. And then, of course, the marketing side and we always want, the racing is great, no doubt. You and I love it. We watched it since we were little boys. But the activations on the midway, the idea that the fans attending are making the link between what's happening on the racetrack to what maybe is at the dealership down the road, that's really important. And I think, you know, that's something I try to bring as well. Also, you know, you and I talked before the show, MX5 Cup, you know, we did that together. We launched a series. And so I had the opportunity to do some promotion and things like that. So tried to bring all those things to IMSA. I think we're again experiencing tremendous growth right now. And I can assure you that all of my IMSA teammates and I are doing everything we can to keep it going.
You did a lot of work, as you mentioned, early on in your start with IMSA. And I think some of the benefits you mentioned for today is the result of some of that early work, in particular, the convergence of rules with ACO.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I probably wore the at the time blue and white of Mazda, and I was at the table wearing that shirt when the discussions about Daytona Prototype International, or DPI 2.0, started. And so it's a really fun perspective, the fact that I was at the table then, and then I came here to IMSA, had that in my mind, all those discussions, and then where we ended up with OMDH, where we ended up with hybrid. where we ended up and where we're still heading with renewable fuels. So it is a fun perspective. And once again, I tried so hard when I got here to think back to those meetings. And I still had all my notebooks full of all the discussions that happened to make sure that the decisions we were making were not made in a vacuum here in Daytona. They were made based on, very adult conversations with the manufacturers that were at the table to make sure that whatever we did was relevant to their product cycle plan on the road car side and also was cost effective in nature. We all know this is an expensive sport, but by using a common hybrid system, hopefully we could put a box around and contain the cost of that. And there weren't these crazy spending, races among the manufacturers and the suppliers. So I think we're in a pretty good spot, but we continue to look to make sure we're staying as efficient as possible.
One of the words you often use is stability, whether it's the extension of the LMDH regulations. You announced your 2025 calendar. The 24 season had barely started, but these are signs of stability for the series and for IMSA in general.
They are. You're right. I don't want to overuse that word, but you've been around the sport long enough to know race teams, drivers, technicians, PR professionals. They like to know what's coming down the road. They like to plan. They like to know that their career is on a good foundation. And I think if you rewind the clock, even a year, the announcements that we have made are all about that. We're at Road America in 23 announcing a 24 calendar, and 8 months later we're announcing a 25 calendar. So that's one. We went to Motul Petit Le Mans. We announced that WeatherTech believes enough in IMSA as a platform that they're signed up till 2030 as an entitlement partner. Michelin, same deal. Believe in the platform, use it as an R&D and evolution and sustainability tool. They're in for till 28, and with the rules extension, hopefully till 29 as well. VP Fuel, that's been instrumental in our renewable fuel, they're in. Then you, to your point, go to March at Sebring, and you bring the new calendar, which really gives the teams such a good planning runway for things as simple as flights and hotels. They can get it. We actually announced early enough that I'm not sure you can book flights that far out, but it's a good situation to be in, but don't get me wrong. And then of course, when we went to Le Mans in June and in partnership with the ACO, extended the regulations, that just gives the manufacturers that are here now confidence that their investment remains stable. And then similarly, and as you know, in your side of the business, digging up stories, there's other manufacturers that are looking to come, and they know that the opportunity will now be good through 29.
The stability and regulations, calendar, et cetera, but you also have to find what's next and think about what's to come, the interests of stakeholders. You talked about renewable fuels and hybrids and the like. So that's the other challenge that you face for all of your series. You do. And, one of the things that we want to make sure remains is that tie between what's happening in the auto industry in total and what we're doing at the racetrack to make sure we complete that circle. And as you know, hybrid technology is really important, and that's where we landed and why we landed on hybrid and GTP, which was feedback from manufacturers. There clearly is a big push on renewable fuels. We launched at 80%. We're being pushed by our manufacturer partners and our partnership with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and the Department of Energy, get to that 100% renewable number. Now you're talking. And also on the tire side, Michelin is bringing tires today that are 30-40% renewable raw materials. We want to get north of 50 and beyond, and also use less of them.
Michelin's bringing double stint tires. So it is a challenge. And I think, again, you've been around the sport for decades, Todd, and keeping budgets in check is really important. And so we're meeting with the partners, we're meeting with the race teams, we're meeting with the manufacturers to make sure that we're doing everything that we're doing and not, spending outside of our means, if you will, both as a series, as a championship, as a team of race teams, and certainly among the partners.
How difficult is it to keep everyone happy with regard to balance of performance?
That's a good one. The answer is there's no way I think you can keep everyone happy, because at the end of the race on Saturday or Sunday, there's only 3 steps on the podium. But what I will say, and this is another element that I always want to be bringing to IMSA from the manufacturer side. When I was on the manufacturer side, all I wanted was to have a shot, to be one of the 6 or 7 cars or 6 or 7 brands going into the final stint or the final laps of the race with a shot at the win. That's all I really wanted. And I was very transparent with IMSA when I was on the sanction or the manufacturer side about what my cars were capable of over the years. And I think with 18 manufacturers, there's a lot of different ideas and views on how things should go. But what we've tried to do is have a very transparent database process based on demonstrated performance, and also make sure everybody has a shot. And I'm proud to say last year, when the checkered flag fell at Petit Le Mans, 17 of the 18 manufacturers had won a race on the season. All 18 of them had been on the podium at least once in multi-class racing. And I think so far this year, with Corvette's win recently at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, 11 of 18 have won a race so far this year. So a lot of racing yet to go. But it's also when you have all these different platforms, especially in GT, front engine, rear engine, turbo, normally aspirated, a bunch of different designs, so different aerodynamic packages. It's a very difficult task for the IMSA technical committee, but in the end, our true goal is everybody has chance, parity, and putting on the best possible show for the fans. And so it's an ongoing challenge. There's no golden nugget or golden arrow to fixing BOP or having the best BOP, but I think the results are the best report card.
You mentioned that you want to keep doing this job for a while. And what if we're having this conversation 5 years from now? What kind of sports car racing landscape are we going to be looking at?
Well, certainly hope that it's the same car counts and fan attendance and great racing that we're seeing today, and even more of it, hopefully. I think audience growth is a really special part of what we're seeing right now, not only on site, and I'm waiting for the message of ticket sales from Miles and Ron Fellows, but we're 6 for 6 events so far this year with record attendance on site. Our TV audience is grown 37% since 2019. We're seeing that audience take in the content in not only the linear old TV set, but definitely through streaming. So I think that's going to continue to be a topic, Todd, over the next 5 years. Obviously, for the auto industry, electrification continues to be a topic. And I think to have an electric platform within the IMSA portfolio would be incredibly special. As you know, the format of our races, 24-hour endurance race, may not cater to current EV ranges, but who knows what we could do with EV.
And hopefully I can then just be evaluated as a driver and not as a disabled driver with a lot of baggage.
Robert Wickens, it's kind of our annual chat at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Coming off a championship season, some pretty good results this year. No victories yet, but kind of always in the mix.
Yeah, I know, Todd. I should come down here more often so we can talk more. But, yeah, it's been a long time coming. Someone told me this weekend, unfortunately reminded me that my last win was here in 2022. So we've had a lot of podiums since then, a lot of success, a championship, but we've failed to make that top step of the podium, and we're hoping we can do that today. My teammate Harry Gottsacker put us on pole, so we've got the best seat of the house, and hopefully we can just make the most of it this afternoon.
You've had success with Bryan Herta Autosport. You've also had the opportunity to do some new and different things this year, like going to Nürburgring.
Yeah, Nürburgring was an interesting one for me. It didn't go according to plan. Unfortunately, we had a failure in my handbrake system, which caused me to have a fairly heavy accident, which left me hospitalized for 4 nights and unable to get the qualifications that I needed in order to compete in the 24 hours at Nürburgring. You know, that track, the Nordschleife, is such a unique and challenging place, and it's not taken lightly. You have to have a certain amount of lap requirements and race results at regional levels to be licensed to race in the 24-hour, and I wasn't able to achieve that while I was recovering, and had to, yeah, hopefully I can do it next year.
Unfortunate. Was that something of a challenge mentally for you, for your wife Carly, and your family, having another crash?
Unfortunately, probably more for my wife Carly than for me. You know, I feel like for me, it's something every time I get in the car, I'm prepared to take that risk. But you know, the unfortunate reality is for our partners and significant others, they're kind of just along for the ride and you know, taking what's given to them, and lack of a better word. So, you know, I'm sure it wasn't great for her to hear that I was being airlifted to local hospital, which was basically what we were told in Pocono in 2018. So there was definitely some, yeah, maybe some PTSD that came back up, but for the most part, it was, yeah, it was minor injuries, all things considered, and yeah, I was able to heal up in a few weeks, and then we were back racing IMSA in Laguna Seca. So it was, yeah, a pretty hectic month of May, but it was good.
You also had the opportunity to test a Formula E car recently. How did that come about, and how did you feel? What were the results?
The Formula E opportunity was honestly just a privilege. I met with the CEO, Jeff Dodds, when he was visiting Indianapolis. We had dialogue. I always knew that Formula E would be a career opportunity from a vehicle adaptation standpoint, because they already have electronic braking. The drivers don't have to change gears because of the electric engine. From a hand control standpoint, on paper, it made sense. So I met with him. I expressed my ambitions of what I would like to do, and he went off to the drawing board, and he met with the chassis manufacturer, Spark, as well as the engineers at Formula E and the FIA, and they came up with a solution to adapt the regen paddles to do throttle and brake. And then they invited me out to Portland to give it a go, and it was honestly an amazing opportunity. It only made me hungrier to try get to you know, different categories, and you know, to race in a world championship like Formula E would be a real dream come true, especially what I call my second career, right? My living in a wheelchair career. So it would be an amazing opportunity, but now, you know, we're back to the drawing board of, you know, I need to align with a team and get a real test. You know, and I think with the help of Formula E and everyone involved, I'm hoping I can make a rookie test as early as this fall. If the stars align and we can make that happen, the hope is just to be evaluated as a normal able-bodied driver. And if I'm fast enough and if I do a good enough job, hopefully I get a seat. But time will tell, and until then, I'm going to keep working hard.
Your ambition is wonderful to see. You made no secret of wanting to participate and compete at the highest levels of motorsport. Is there more technology available in terms of hand controls that is going to allow you to do that in the near future?
There is, and we got something in the pipeline that hopefully will be debuting in our Hyundai Elantra and TCR car before the end of the season. A new, much more sophisticated hand control system with electric braking, something that will hopefully pave a wider runway for me to other categories around the world, whether if it's trying to get to the WeatherTech series in a GTD car, an LMP2 car. The dream would be a GTP car, but the system would be able to plug and play in any of those cars. You know, you could plop it in a NASCAR, you could put it in an IndyCar, you could put it in a Formula E car. It was basically, the goal is, the issue right now is there's a lot of adapting, there's a lot of R&D and everything that goes into trying to get me into a new car. So I can't just walk through the paddock with my helmet in hand, convincing you, Todd, as a team owner, to give me a shot so I can show you what I can do. It's not my reality anymore. It was in my past, but it's not now. Where hopefully this new system, you know, I'll have a Pelican case instead of a helmet, and hopefully I can hand off the system to a team, and there's still some R&D, but significantly less, and hopefully I can then just be evaluated as a driver and not as a disabled driver with a lot of baggage.
Is this technology that you would take individually, or is this something that Bryan Herta Autosports and you could perhaps take to another series?
A bit of both. You know, I think the partnership is with myself, but where it's unique in motorsport is the driver rarely owns the car. So there also has to be an agreement to the race team to use said product inside their car. So it's a bit of a legal matter, but no, I mean, I think the fact that this company are so willing and open to help me for, frankly, the better cause of myself, and then hopefully down the road to create a bit of a curriculum for the next disabled drivers that are coming in, whether if it's from karting all the way up to the highest levels of motorsport. If there's a path or a map of what that looks like, and an easier way to adapt the cars and a more competitive way to adapt the cars, hopefully it's just better for the next generations.
Is this also something that would eventually be adaptable for passenger vehicles?
Absolutely. It's technology that already exists in most passenger vehicles, mostly in the hybrid EV realm of automotive vehicles these days. So, you know, I think the interesting thing is adaptive road safety needs to take a big step forward. You know, it's still very kind of old school, like you have this stick that you push and pull, and it like pushes in like the throttle and brake pedal down, and you're constantly driving with just one hand on the steering wheel at all times. And it's, you know, it would be awesome if I could come up with a solution for people that have use of their hands to have the ability to keep both their hands on the wheel at all times, and almost create like a road car version of a steering wheel that I use in the race car would be something really special someday.
To be a paid professional race car driver and not be my job is to show up on weekends to go for trophies. It's not a bad life.
Parker Thompson from Vasser Sullivan Racing. It's been a while since you and I have had a conversation. You're now a full-time driver with this team. How has the transition been to full-time employment in this role?
It has been too long, Todd, so it's good to see you. Full-time employment is great. Anytime you can make your way into IMSA WeatherTech full-time it's pretty incredible. I've had a long journey to get here, which you've been a part of just about every step of that journey, but thankful for the opportunity and excited for the future.
When we talked after you won the Carrera Cup Championship, it was, I have a goal to be racing full-time in sports cars in IMSA WeatherTech. Take me through the journey that got you here.
Oh, man. Well, there's some stuff I can say on camera, and there's a lot of stuff I can't say on camera. And it's tough. Sports cars is a jungle that you have to navigate. And a lot of people know that at one point in time I got rated gold after Carrera Cup, which was that was unprecedented at the time. No one had ever won a international Carrera Cup, because it is Carrera Cup North America. You do race in Canada and the US, but no one at that time got rated gold. So that I actually had a deal signed somewhere else to race full-time, and as soon as I got bumped gold, that went away, and it went into emergency mode of trying to find an opportunity. And luckily, I've had a long relationship with Jimmy and Sully here at Vasser Sullivan. We've known each other for about 3 years. I've been trying to drive for them, calling them every week. I had a good race. Hey, Jimmy. Hey, Sully. When's the opportunity? And the stars just kind of aligned right at the point where I really needed an opportunity. They had a reshuffle, and all of a sudden, I ended up here for the endurance season in 2023. Which went pretty good. We won the Watkins Glen 6-hour. I had some good runnings at all the other races, and somehow landed on my feet here, which is pretty incredible.
Best part is you continue to produce now in a full-time role as well. Winning a pole is great. It's exciting, and getting a victory too.
Well, so that's what we're here to do this weekend. It's funny you bring up the victory, because I don't know if you watched Watkins Glen, but man, one slipped away through my fingers on that. And it's tough. I'm learning this closer role. It's so much different than any other role I've been in. You know, sprint racing, number one, you're racing for just yourself, just your car. This, you've got a whole team on your back when you're a closer. And the racing with the last 15 minutes to go, IMSA in particular, because of the way the yellow rules work, there's 10 cars in the lead lap with 15 minutes to go that are all on the same fuel and all on the same tires. And they've got the best drivers in the world, and they're ready to risk everything. And yeah, the 57 definitely owes one back from us on that. So if you're watching, that won't be happening again. So we'll move forward, but this weekend I'm closing out again, so it should be another opportunity. Our Lexus RCF is very fast around, I still like to call this place Motorsports, but Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. We'll respect Ron Fellows and make sure we get in the plug. But it should be a good race for us.
This is not the only car you're driving as well. You get some other opportunities.
Yes, all within the Toyota family, but I've made a pretty good little home for myself away from IMSA in another championship that starts with an S and ends with an O, and it's in the Toyota Supra. So had a lot of success over there. I mean, last year I got the first win ever for the Toyota GR Supra in Michelin Pilot Challenge at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And then this year, we've had some great results. We won a couple SRO races overall with Hanley Motorsports last year. And this year, I think we're sitting third in the championship. And we're headed to VIR next weekend. So staying very busy.
Is this where you are now what you imagined it would be like, or is it different?
That is such a good question. What did I imagine it would be like? Yeah, it is. It's so funny, though, and any race car driver watching this, because there's so many different levels, but you get to the full-time IMSA level, and I know that there's 1,000 drivers out there right now that would do anything to be in the seat that I've got, but you always want more, right? And you're looking at GTD, it's like, okay, I've won a GTD race. Now we got to win a GTD championship. Then we got to go to GTD Pro. Then you've got to go up against, there's just more and more and more, and you rarely take time to sit back and go, wow, this is everything I ever wanted 2 years ago. But now it's like, I want to win this race. I want to win this championship. I want to get to GTD Pro. Then I want to be a closer in GTD Pro. And there's just every level that you're trying to tick off. So speak to me in another 2 to 3 years, and we'll see if my progress chart is following along. But for now, it's focused on winning the championship at GTD.
I will have that conversation with you in a few years. But I think that's part of what makes successful racers is that they're always looking to the next thing.
It's tough. It's this constant, it's almost like we have a disease of you're constantly chasing something, but at the same time you have fun with it, right? I mean, it's pretty incredible. It really sets in. I mean, my dad would kill to have this lifestyle. He tried it with bikes. He got there with boats, but, he never did the four-wheel thing. But that's all he ever wanted to do was race for a living. And I think so many people, especially in Canada, that's all these young kids in karting, all the young kids in 1600, they're looking up. And to be a paid professional race car driver and not be my job is to show up on weekends to go for trophies, it's not a bad life.
What's the advice you would give to those kids looking to make this step and journey to your level?
You cannot give up. I'm probably a good example of my junior career was good, but it was a long, hard road it was a school of hard knocks. It was, I don't have a manager. I did all my own deals. I didn't drive for some of the best teams. I drove for some good teams. There's a lot of people that I owe opportunities to because I was basically the kid showing up hat in hand with a helmet, begging to drive anything. And that played out well. I'm not saying my career is by any means the ladder that you want to take, but the one thing you can take away from it is I never gave up. And at 26 years old, I finally got that premier opportunity that everybody dreams for. I mean, Vasser Sullivan is by far the best team that organizationally I've ever driven for. So especially along with the support from Lexus, it's a very good place to be. And now I've just got to, now that I'm here, it's like, okay, let's start winning.
Once I did the first race and got the sense of competing, I think that's when I fell in love with racing.
Jagger Jones is on an unbelievable roll driving an LMP3 in the VP Racing Fuel Series. Is this just a combination of being in the right place at the right time, in a great car, driver talent, maybe a little bit of everything?
Yeah, I think it takes everything. I think I've raced a lot of different type of vehicles at a very high level Indy Next last year, and then I got an opportunity to jump into a sports car, which I haven't done before, last year to do a race at Road Atlanta. That went well, but we didn't get the wins. And then once I got the opportunity to come back and got the phone call about 2 weeks before St. Pete, I was all ready to go, didn't have any other racing plans for the year, and since then I've just really been on fire in this series and won both at St. Pete, won both at Mid-Ohio, and then today we just won the first race here at Moss Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. So it's been really exciting, and I don't really know where the success point is, but I was talking about this with my crew chief yesterday, and I think it's the whole team, and they've done a great job. No mechanicals, engineering's been really on point. We've made really smart decisions, and then in the races I've been quick, but also managed traffic quickly but safely, and that's what you have to do in this series.
You mentioned Indy Next, and you've got some open wheel experience. I don't know, is any of that translatable or relatable for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, it's a bit different style of driving in these cars, but if there's anything that's the most similar, I think the open wheel is more similar to this than, per se, someone coming from GT cars. So I've definitely taken a lot of that open wheel style, and I think I still drive the car a lot like an open wheel, but kind of put it on its limit. But I've also drove big, heavy NASCAR stock cars on ovals, road courses, legend cars, a bunch of different cars on road courses where it's more on the opposite side of the spectrum from an open wheel car. So I think just kind of piecing every piece of data and experience I have, and then, you know, also looking at the data the team has and how they say you need to drive the car, kind of a combination of everything, and then figuring it out on your own. And I think we've been really quick. This weekend, maybe not as quick as we've been in other rounds, but luckily in the races, I think I've done a really good job learning the traffic, and that's kind of my goal of doing this series. If, you know, I move up to the WeatherTech series or ELMS or some other series like that, I have the experience of traffic under my belt.
Open wheel experience, now the sports cars, is that kind of the direction you're pointing yourself in sports cars? But you never know where opportunity comes from.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't, when I was racing NASCAR in like the ARCA West Series in 2019, 5 years ago, and you would have said, oh, well, by 2024, you'd already raced a year of Indy Next, now you're racing sports cars, you know, all these different things, I wouldn't have believed you. I was really hard into the NASCAR path, and that's where I saw, you know, my path of becoming a professional race car driver, but things don't always work out, and a lot of it is stuff that happens off the track financially. You know, I have to go out and find sponsors and find money or find teams that want to put me in a race car. I don't have, you know, all the money from the family. It's just not the case for me, so I have to go and make this happen myself. And so that kind of has led to a bit of a zigzag path, but I love to drive any type of cars, and I really like the fact that I'm having to work for this, do it myself, and take opportunities that I get and make the most of them.
Is that why there was the gap in your racing career? Because after you finished with ARCA cars for a while, there's a bit of a gap before you got back in. Yeah, no, I didn't race for 2 years. I finished second in the ARCA Championship my rookie year. Won a race, was up front. But in racing, just because, you know, you're doing well doesn't always mean that you're going to get an opportunity at the next level. It takes a lot of the sponsorship and funding, and I didn't have that. I went to college in that time, and it was COVID, so that kind of gave me an excuse maybe a little bit, but made it trickier to get back in. And I finally got an opportunity in the open wheel side of things, and I took that and ran with it, did well, and then led to another year. And then now has led to this opportunity. Went and finished college in December of last year in business finance, graduated High Point University. So that's cool to be able to also do that. And, you know, maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Maybe if I was hard full-time racing, I wouldn't have committed to go to college and finish that. But now I have that under my belt. But now the full focus is on these race weekends, making the most at the track, and then during the week, and off weekends doing a lot of coaching, trying to meet the right people that want to help, support, and fund me and be a part of, you know, my journey to whether it's the Indy 500, IMSA, WEC, whatever it might be. Your grandfather is Parnelli Jones, who we lost recently. PJ Jones is your father. Was it inevitable you would go into the family business?
Yeah, I obviously grew up around racing, and my parents never pushed it on me, or my grandparents. Maybe even, especially my mom, might have tried to stir me away, put me in basketball, baseball, every other sport you can imagine. But, you know, as it typically goes, I just fell in love with racing, and my dad bought me a go-kart. And once I drove that, I enjoyed it. And then once I did the first race and got the sense of competing, I think that's when I fell in love with racing. And then from then on, it was me and my brother both begging my parents to take us to the track and go race every single weekend. And that's when they knew they really couldn't have done anything else to stop it. And since then, my mom especially has been my biggest supporter, helps me so much with everything to do with this. And they've been, you know, very happy. Obviously, I had a good relationship with my grandpa, and unfortunately, he passed recently, but he was also a big supporter in my racing.
I'm Connor Zilish. I race cars, and you're watching Rev TV.
Connor Zilish, is anybody having a better year than you? Let's see, win the Rolex 24, win the 12 Hours of Sebring, having a pretty good season in Mazda MX Cup 5. I think you're doing all right.
Yeah, it's definitely been a good year, you know, not only on the road course racing, but, you know, in my NASCAR racing as well. So, yeah, it's been nothing short of amazing, to say the least. And there's a lot of people that have helped made this possible. And it takes a lot of work to go racing every weekend, and it's not as easy as it may seem. So, yeah, to have the success that I've had is definitely beyond my expectations, and nothing I could have expected. But I'm very grateful for everything that's happened this year.
Second youngest winner in the Rolex 24. How does that significance sit with you?
Yeah, it's a surreal, you know, feeling. I wish I could have been the youngest, but you know, it's still really cool to win at such a young age, such a prestigious event. People race that event for years and years trying to win it. To go and get a Rolex on my first go was really cool. So hopefully I'll be able to get some more in the years to come, and continue to race in that event, because it was definitely one of my favorites.
Love seeing you in the MX-5 Cup. How much fun is it to drive these cars? As much fun as it is to watch?
Yeah, it's definitely as much fun to watch, and it's what keeps bringing me back, right? I don't have to come and race these, and, you know, I've got a lot of stuff going on outside of this series as well. So, you know, definitely the enjoyment of it brings me back. And, you know, I always enjoy coming back here and racing with BSI Racing, and, you know, having Silver Hair Racing on my car, and, you know, being able to support people that support me is really cool. And, you know, this stuff is so much fun, and the races are always entertaining, and I'm sure from the outside, and definitely entertaining from the driver's seat as well.
Signed with Team Trackhouse in a development deal. You've had a start in the NASCAR Truck Series. Is that the path for you going forward?
Yeah, it is. You know, I feel like it's kind of where my progression has taken me, and, you know, I'm very fortunate with that, and grateful to have the opportunity to go NASCAR racing, right? It's the biggest form of racing in North America, with the views and how many people watch NASCAR. So, yeah, you know, I want to compete at the highest level, whatever I can. And if it's NASCAR, then I'm going to do everything I can to be the best at it. And if it's, you know, IMSA, then I'll do everything I can to be the best at it. I just want to be able to go out and be competitive anything I get in.
I've seen some of your social posts, and one of them you were spotting at a race. Does that give you a unique perspective to have that role?
Yeah, spotting's different. It's stressful, honestly, because, you know, when you're driving and, you know, say you make a mistake, at least you know you can take the blame for it, and you're the one driving, it's your race. But when you're spotting for someone else, and say you make a mistake spotting and you ruin your driver's race, then it's a little bit different responsibility. So, yeah, it was cool to get that experience last weekend in Chicago, and, you know, working with Trackhouse and everyone over there on that side of things, and just getting to see things from a different perspective. It all helps me become a better race car driver.
Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? That's the HR question, right?
Yeah, no, for me, it's in the NASCAR Cup Series, you know, hopefully winning NASCAR Cup Series championships and competing at the highest level at a successful, you know, being successful at the highest level. And, you know, that's what I'm working towards right now, and what I hope to be doing in 5 years. It's definitely not going to be an easy path. It's super competitive, and there's a lot that goes into it, but honestly, I feel like that's the trajectory I'm headed on, and hopefully I can continue the success I've had this year in the years to come.
We don't have that elusive win yet, but that's okay. It's about winning championships here in this paddock.
Steve Bortolotti, we spoke at the start of the season. You were excited to launch the new McLaren. We're about halfway through now. Give us a report card.
I'm still very excited. I mean, we had a tough start, obviously, at Daytona and Sebring. You know, Sebring was out of our control, unfortunately. But yeah, the last 3 races. I mean, we had second at Laguna, probably on track for a third at Detroit, but a little bit of contact there took us out. And yeah, second at the last race at Watkins Glen in 6 hours. So, you know, really starting to feel that momentum, which is very exciting, and hopefully can bring home another podium here at our home track at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
This is what you expected, I think, from the program, is there is going to be some learning, there are going to be some growing pains, but still as optimistic as you were 6 months ago.
Absolutely. I mean, it's we knew there was going to be, like you said, we knew there was going to be a bit of a learning period, and just knowing like when we were testing and when we were on track, like it was going to be tough to get through. You know, our season's tough, right? You got 36 hours of racing to start your year, and you got to be pretty sorted. So, yeah, we had, I guess our inexperience with the car showed at those 2, and then yeah, as we've gotten, you know, our chance to reset and get our legs under us, it's been quite successful. So we don't have that elusive win yet, but that's okay. It's about winning championships here in this paddock. It's not about individual race wins. So we'll do everything we can to be in the fight when we get to Motul Petit Le Mans at the end of the year.
You teased everyone and then came back and delivered the FAF plaid this weekend at CTMP. The response has been tremendous.
Yeah, I've never had more people stop me in the paddock say, "You're keeping it right. You're keeping it right." But no, I was really proud that we got to do this for, you know, our hometown race, and as proud Canadians, and you know, I like to think of, you know, hopefully like a, you know, proud leader in Canadian motorsport as a team. You know, I really want to give our hometown fans what they wanted, right? And so we've been cooking this up for some time. The livery was something that it's been many iterations of what you see here, but yeah, I'm proud to show it to everybody. I'm proud of the fanfare, and you know, I shouldn't read the comments on our social media, but I'm the comment reader, and yeah, it was like 170 something comments and not a single negative one. And usually, like, since we did this swap, there's been you know, not some not so nice comments, but that's okay. We're not going to keep it all year, but it's nice to see the fanfare and reward everybody for their loyalty to us, and the merchandise that we've seen here, you know, floating around the paddock has been absolutely insane, which is, you know, something I'm very humbled by and proud of.
You said you want to keep improving, be there at the end of the season. Do you have any specific goals set for the rest of the year?
Actually, yeah, we want to go to Petit with a mathematical chance at a championship. It doesn't mean we're going to win it. I mean, it could be you know, the longest, you know, stars have to align chance, but that's something a target we've set for ourselves. And if we achieve that, that'll be fantastic.
Normally, we see these two guys competing against one another, Justin DiBenedetto, Travis Hill. But for Michelin Pilot at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, they have decided to come together and compete for the first time. Justin, was it you that approached Travis, or Travis that approached you? How did this all start?
We actually ran with Tooth earlier this spring. We ran a WRL race in TCR. Met the guys there, and there were talks of potentially an IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge race. A little bit later, Trevor came up to us, asked us if we were interested in participating. We sat down, we had a few calls, and we made it work, and here we are racing on home soil with a really nice Porsche GT4 RS.
Travis, you have participated in a number of different series. Is just the natural evolution for Tooth Autosport?
Yeah, I mean, we always want to compete against the best. That's not just in Canada, where we have an incredible field, but people around North America and across the world too. So Justin was a perfect natural fit. He's got some time in the GT4 RS. He's obviously shown great pace in the FEL series. So it's exciting to bring two Canadians together once again to be able to take on the IMSA field.
Okay, Justin, so you're coming into the Tooth program. What have you had to learn or adjust, and how smooth has the transition been?
So far, it's been working very well. I mean, we have our family operation of DiBenedetto Racing. We've worked with Tooth kind of in unison a little bit in the WRL, so we got a feel for it there. Top class organization over here. I mean, meetings, sitting down, we want to run through stuff. What did we do well? What can we improve on? And I think just all in all, it's been a fantastic experience, and I mean, I think it's gelled quite well.
Okay, Travis, so what's the level of expectation for this first venture into Michelin Pilot?
I mean, any first venture, we've had some success in Michelin Pilot in the past year, but this is a new car for us, a new class, so I think we need to really focus on the principles and basics, just making sure we have a good, safe car that everybody's comfortable in, good strategy, make sure everybody knows their roles and can execute well within that, and just build on that. I think we've got a lot of natural skill, fairly young group overall, and that makes me excited for years to come. So just keep building that up. We've got a good foundation, and we'll keep building from there.
All right, so Justin, how does this help you in your performance as you pursue other ventures, whether it's SCCC or anything else?
Yeah, so I mean, the way I look at it is, I mean, we run a very similar BOP to IMSA in the Sports Car Championship Canada. To me, it's more seat time, but it's also getting familiarized with the IMSA environment. I think now it's fair. There's a lot of teams in the SCCC that have transitioned to IMSA. And I mean, we're potentially looking to do that in the future as well. So get accustomed to the environment, get accustomed to the fields, the way things are run, and just take it as a big learning experience.
Travis, just to wrap up, I was going to say this is sort of the proof of concept for FEL and SCCC that they are the stepping stone to other levels of racing.
Yeah, exactly. I think we've proven that in a couple seasons, but Chris Bai's idea of making the FEL a good platform for Canadian racers and American racers to come into Canada, but a great platform to do sprint racing, build up that professionalism, and prepare yourselves for North American or global competition. So it's working really well. I feel like we're really well prepared. We know Justin quick in FEL. You know you're going to be pretty quick in the IMSA series as well. So it's just up to us now to get the program together, get the car sorted out, and make sure we deliver a car that the drivers can work with.
The number 33 Sean Creech Motorsports entry always has a patriotic look to it. When the team comes to Canada, they add the Canadian flag to the car at the insistence of Lance Wilsey. Lance, your family has an incredible story of their history coming to Canada. Tell me that story.
No, thank you very much for the opportunity. Yes, it's always great to come to Motorsport, Canada in particular. It's an incredibly important place in my personal life and my family history. My mother, her brother and family lived in Sered, Czechoslovakia, prior to the Nazi invasion, leading up to and in the presence of World War II. And through a series of circumstances, they emigrated and ended up in Canada, Niagara Falls in particular. And the country, welcomed them with open arms and provided them the opportunity to create a life, restart their lives. And it's just, incredibly grateful to be able to have this opportunity to come here and show my thanks to the country.
True North, strong and free. Thank you, Lance.
My pleasure. Thank you.
That will do it for this special IMSA edition of Rev Culture. Don't forget, you can check out Speed Chronicles every Wednesday on the Rev TV YouTube channel and get past episodes on the YouTube channel as well. Thanks for watching. I'm Todd Lewis.